Well, welcome to the weekend. It's Saturday, and we're looking at the severe thunderstorm outlooks for the next 7 days and beyond. Really, here's the supercell composite, and I've been liking to start with this here the last couple of videos because it really clearly summarizes what's happening over the next few days here. So supercells are just really good at producing severe weather. They last longer. They don't choke themselves off with their own downdraft. So it automatically ups the probability of hail and wind and even tornadoes, which is what defines severe weather in this context. And that's what the SPC looks for. And they're looking today, Saturday, at their strongest area of severe weather likelihood out here in the eastern U.S. Get a close-up on that in a second. Also, some more monsoon stuff from Phoenix down to the Arizona border, basically. It kind of covered up there, but you get the idea. And we also have this marginal risk area that covers a lot of ground out here from Kansas north to the Dakotas and over into Iowa and Minnesota. Iowa had a really good tornado producer thunderstorm right in that area yesterday. Now, zooming in on the northeast, we have, again, this corridor that's been showing up lately. So from almost upstate, not really upstate New York, just kind of southern New York, parts of Massachusetts and Connecticut, all the way down through New York City, Philadelphia, Allentown, Baltimore, Washington. There's a level 2 out of 5 severe weather risk. And by the way, that this is categorical. So a lot of these forecasts depend on the coverage of severe storms. Same with weather watches. You may have a severe thunderstorm somewhere and not necessarily have a severe thunderstorm watch that's ever going to be issued. That's because the SPC has determined that the widespread coverage is not there to warrant the watch, even though there's severe weather going on. So again, you have to pick places where you draw boundaries, and that's one of them. There is a wind risk with this in the Northeast, and that's pretty much the risk. There's not much of a hail risk with this, a little bit, but there's a 15% chance of a severe wind gust in that area shaded yellow. If we take a look at Colorado State University's look at things, they actually paint a little tornado risk there in South Dakota, not very big though. They're definitely a little bit more hyper on the wind out in the Northeast, and maybe again across portions of South Dakota in that marginal risk area. They're also a little bit on the excited side about hail, again in the middle of that marginal risk area. So let's move ahead to Sunday. Now, this has been talked about for a while. This is part of a 2-day event, maybe 3. And this is setting up so we have cooler, drier air here. We have a strong jet stream flow through here. We have that hot weather dome down here. So in between these two, kind of a pseudo ring of fire, really, I guess you could say, because we still have this level 1. You can kind of draw the ring like this, I guess. But this is definitely the hot zone, and we'll zoom in on both of these. Notice that there's a marginal risk in parts of the Carolinas, also way up here in Maine, and again in the monsoon areas down there in southern Arizona. But let's zoom in on the Chicago area and over to Davenport and Dubuque, Iowa, and Cedar Rapids. This is where the Storm Prediction Center has painted a level 2 out of 5 risk for Sunday. This also extends over into Indiana, includes Kokomo and Lafayette and South Bend, Indiana as well. There are tornado risks associated with this. There is a 2% chance of a tornado, and for some reason that little graphic didn't transfer over on this map. I'm not sure why, but this is a 2% area right here of any size tornado and strength tornado within 25 miles. So that includes pretty much the slight risk area, same city. Also, ideally, with the wind, same place too. So this is definitely an outlook based on a tornado and wind risk and lesser on a hail risk, but again, a 15% chance of a severe wind, again, in that exact same area as the slight risk. Before we leave and go to the other area, I did want to show you that NATOcast for tomorrow, based on the 12Z data from today, is painting a pretty good picture for tornadoes there in that exact same area. 5% chance, that's the brown, from northern Illinois over into northern Indiana, including a sliver of Wisconsin and Michigan as well. So just keep that in the back of your mind, just in case that one maybe gets a little bit closer to verifying. This time of year, it's all about the mesoscale interactions, though, a lot of this stuff. So it really depends on where the thunderstorms form tonight or even tomorrow morning where they're at. That helps to define what the tornado risk is. Now, on the StormNet side of things, they are not very excited about tornado risk. There are 2 blobs of it here for Sunday. I just picked the maximum hour for Sunday, and that's 7 to 8 here. That's shown right up here. So again, there's a lot of disagreement with only one NATOcast being kind of the outlier. I'm bumping up the percentage chance of a tornado, but of course, one of the reasons I record this video is to show you the possibility so you know what direction something might be headed. So here's the severe storm risk for Sunday up to the north and west of that area. This includes a large chunk basically of South Dakota. And the main risk here is wind risk, and they did go ahead and put a hatching on this, which kind of gives a percentage chance of basically your winds. So still, there's largely about an 86% chance it's going to stay below hurricane force winds, which that's 75 miles per hour, and more than a 50-50 chance it'll stay below 64 miles per hour. But that just kind of gives you an idea of what you're looking at there. On CSU's outlook, they kind of mirror the tornado threat, maybe bring it a little bit more into Wisconsin, but don't up the percentage as much. They are pretty much in agreement with the SPC on the area of that. And again, the hail probability is showing up and the wind risk probability. And if you look really close by that dot, that wind risk actually goes up to about 30%. That's that kind of salmon color there, but it's very, very small. Then we move ahead to Monday. This is a multi-day event. Remember, this whole thing kind of slides this way, and Chicago's still in it, Indiana, but now we can extend it over into Ohio, include places like Detroit, over to Pittsburgh, and Columbus, Ohio, and Cleveland are both in that. Toledo's in that. So that's a level 2 on Monday. They don't on day 3, which is what they consider this to be, the SPC, they don't delineate severe weather type quite yet. We'll get into that tomorrow. But we have other tools we can look at for that, like CSU's Outlook, for instance. They paint tornado risk way over here in Pennsylvania, are pretty silent on the hail, except for this back-end marginal risk area here, and the wind risk is about 15%, again, in that exact same area SPC outlined as slight. Now, I do want to show you this, and I think this is interesting. In fact, I'm double checking it as I'm looking at it to make sure I did it right. But yeah, this is for Monday, August 10th, from the 1 p.m. to 1 a.m. cycle on Monday. And this is a 26% tornado risk bullseye right there north of the Peoria and Bloomington area there in Illinois. I think that's interesting. That is in turn the outlier, whereas the other models that we look at here don't have that. So kind of an interesting flip-flop. And again, it kind of drives home the point that it's very much driven by mesoscale processes and whatever run of the model you're looking at that happen to favor that at that time. I will say on Tuesday, though, that CSU is painting, it's the next day, a continued 30% probability there, a little bit more to the east, but almost in the same place as Sunday, Monday's outlook. So, but Ohio is certainly the bullseye of attention there, over into Indiana too. And again, this outlook does not attempt to differentiate between severe weather types. It's just saying any severe weather, 1-inch hail, 59 mile per hour wind gusts or higher. That's on Tuesday. So again, I show that to you because I think it's pretty probable that something will show up from the SPC in this area on the outlook for tomorrow when it's issued overnight tonight. It'll show up tomorrow morning, and I'll show that to you. And there's even some evidence this could go on till Wednesday, sinking a little more south and heading a little more east, but only 15% probabilities there. And even into Thursday, coastal areas of the Carolinas and even central Carolinas still might be in that 15% area for severe weather. Again, this is just potential for trouble, as the way I would look at that when I show you these outlooks. And then we'll finish up the NIU outlooks. We showed you the first 7 days to open up the video here. And now some subdued patterns here, although the pattern itself looks exactly the same. The supercell percentages not nearly as high as yesterday, but that same corridor, only maybe a little more south this time than the one we just finished up showing you. And then on week 3, very disjointed, really. Not a whole lot of probabilities. A couple spikes showing up here and there. But again, week 3 will always show the most variability of any type of forecast, severe weather included.